Hello, and today I'm going to show you how to date a weekly planner in Adobe InDesign using data merge. Now, I've already made a tutorial before on dating a planner using data merge, but that one was for a daily planner and this one's for a weekly planner, which is a little bit more complicated, but not too difficult. The biggest difference comes in how we set up our Excel spreadsheet. So over here, I have a lot more columns than I did for the daily planner. This one, I have 2 columns for every day of the week, and then you can ignore these 2 columns here because these ones are reference columns. So for my first column, I have the ISO week, which you can ignore if you want. Same with the ISO year. I keep these in as references for some of these formulas. So this one over here, you can see the formula gets a bit complicated. But basically, I have the header, so I want the month and the year at the very top of my planner page. This is helpful because if I were to make a multi-year planner or a mid-year planner, having that year is nice. And then for the Monday, or all the days of the week really, I have 2 columns. And that's just because I wanted a little bit of extra freedom. For example, if I wanted it to say Monday, December 29th or Monday, 29th December, I can have either of those in here just because they're in 2 separate columns. So that's the same for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And what's really great about this Excel spreadsheet is I can update it to 2027 and it will all update. This is missing the first week of January just because this Excel spreadsheet is set up to start with the ISO week 1 and 2027 will start with, I believe it's a week 53. But you can always add in that previous week if you want. So I'll just pop that back to 2026. So that is how my Excel spreadsheet is set up. For this, I'm going to be using a CSV file. Now I'm using a CSV file because there are no commas anywhere in this, but if your data merge file did have commas, for example, if it said Monday, comma, December 29 or something like that, then you would want to use something like a TSV file, which is tab separated values, not comma separated values, just because having commas inside your data source can cause some issues. When you save this, we just want to make sure that we are saving it as a CSV, not this one here, but this one down here. This is something I don't think I was aware about with my previous tutorial. I was opening it in like text edit and just checking it. And then sometimes I was also saving it in numbers and that was fixing it. But as I've since discovered, choosing this option for CSV instead of CSV UTF-8 gets rid of a lot of issues that I was previously experiencing and having to solve through other means. So that is my data source. Let's go into InDesign. Now, this is obviously a finished layout, so this is going to go a lot faster than it might if you don't have a planned layout. So for this, I have 8 columns in my layout, 1 for just general notes, and then 7 for the days of the week. So all the days of the week are the same size. And then this one is an extra column wide. So this is a 5mm grid that I've made in Adobe Illustrator, and that's just in my file. And I have this on a parent page up here. And then this is a table. This is something that I would just have to hyperlink. So let's start by adding in our data source. Now I've already got data merge open over here. Let me just turn on my mouse tracker. But if you don't have it open, just go Window, find Utilities, and then find Data Merge. We're going to click on the hamburger menu up here and choose Select Data Source. And I've got my CSV file here, so I will open that. Now I had Show Import options ticked, but for this I really didn't need to, but I liked keeping that ticked just in case. So my delimiter is comma, so if you had a TSV file, you would swap that to tab. Encoding ASCII, platform Macintosh, so all of those settings are perfectly fine for me. I'll click OK. And then that top row from my Excel file becomes my options in here. For this, I already have a couple of paragraph styles set up. So I always start with a base paragraph style. This one is just a paragraph style with the font chosen. So what that means is all of my paragraph styles will be based on this base. So if I wanted to change the font, all I have to do is change one paragraph style and it changes all of the fonts throughout. For me, with paragraph styles, I tend to have quite a few within my documents by the time they're finished, especially when it comes to my own personal planner. So having just one paragraph style that everything is based on means that it's a lot neater if I change my mind down the road, which is always a possibility. So I have my data source all loaded here. And I'm going to start doing some basic designs. Just want to make sure that you're on page 1 and that you're not accidentally doing this on your parent page. If I double click on here, you can see it says a parent down here. Just make sure you're doing it on your page, because when you merge your data source, you'll end up with 52 or 53 parent pages, and no one wants that. So I'm just going to make a text box. Right now I'm in preview. I'll get out of preview by hitting W. T for a text box. And then I'm just going to double click the header month. And then I'm also going to type week and then ISO week. So right now these look a little bit funky. If I hit preview, I can see what I've got here. So I'm just going to change both of these to my paragraph style base. You can see I've got a little overset text warning here. We don't need to worry about that. That's just because my header rows are a little bit long from Excel. So this one, I'm going to make a new paragraph style. And I'm going to call this weekly page H1. So it's based on base. Then in here, I've got Gotham book. I'm going to change that to Gotham bold, and then I'm going to set the size to 9 points. So that's changed both of those, so I'll just hit OK, and I'm just going to select this one here and make a new paragraph style. Make sure that's based on base, and I'm going to call that weekly page ISO. So Gotham, we'll make that Gotham medium. And for the font size, we'll make that 7 points. I'm actually going to change this to an H2. And then for indents and spacing, I am going to add 0.1 centimeters as a space before, just to give it some breathing room from the header month. So I'll click OK. And then when I preview this, that's what that looks like. So I'm just going to shrink my text box down a bit. So that's going to be Command Option C. So that's how that looks. And then we'll just line that up there. Just make that a little bit lower. There we go. And we'll pull it in a little bit. Cool. So then we're going to do the headings for all of these. I'm going to make a table for this. Now, because this is a 5mm grid, it means that I can line everything up nicely. So we'll go Table, Create Table. I'll do 1 row and 8 columns. And then I'll just draw that. Doesn't really matter what size it is because I'll be manually adjusting the size of it once we're done. So right now I've got overset text symbol here because tables are within a text frame. That's just how they work. So using the type tool, we can highlight our table. So that will highlight the row, that will highlight the column, and then at the corner that will highlight the whole table. I can go to my properties panel, and if you don't have the properties panel, you can go window and then find properties. And here I'm going to change this to exactly. And for the height, we're going to do 0.5 centimeters. And for the width, we're going to do 3.5 centimeters. Except for this column, we're going to change that to 4 centimeters. So for the stroke, I've just selected my whole table. We'll go up to the top here, click on the word stroke, and you can see we have these borders. I'm going to make sure they're all selected and turn that stroke weight down to 0. And then I'm just going to micro nudge this. So you can micro nudge using Command Shift and then your arrow keys, or if you're on Windows, that's Control Shift and then your arrow keys. There we are. So for this first one, I am going to do notes. So this little dot here is the overset text marker for when you're within a table cell. So I'm just going to go Command A to select all of that. Find my paragraph style, we'll make it base, make a new one, and we'll call this weekly page H3. Our font size for this one is going to be 5.5, and we'll change this to medium. And I'll just make sure that paragraph style is set for the entire table. Using my data merge panel, we're going to do Monday. Now, like I said, you can do this either as, December 30th or December 29th or 29th December, up to you. For this tutorial, I'll be doing the number first and then the month. So 29 space December, and I'm just double clicking that to make sure that field goes in there. Tuesday, 30th December. And one thing I'm doing is I'm doing everything as like title case, even though my paragraph style, my base paragraph style is set to all caps. I want it to be that if I change my mind on the capitalization, I have as much freedom as possible. So if I was to go into the base paragraph style and change that from all caps to normal, everything is going to have the correct capitalization. So I'll change that back to all caps. And if I turn off my preview for my data merge, that's what it looks like. We have that overset text warning for all of them, but that won't happen once we merge the final document. What's great about this is if you decide you don't want to have a Monday start, you wanted to have a Sunday start, that's perfectly fine. You just change what fields, what order you put the fields in here. So you can use the same file for multiple planners. And then I'm just going to duplicate this one and pop it down here. And once again, Command Shift to micro nudge that up a little bit. Now you can write whatever you want in any of your fields, but I'm just going to make this to do. And so that is my planner layout done. Now, another thing that we can do if you want to with this planner layout, with this data merge document, is if you wanted to make it a weekly and a daily planner, we can do that. So I won't include this in my final merge document just because I think that would be a bit much. I'm just going to add 7 pages. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm just going to apply no parent page to these. I'll just change that from a parent to none just to remove that layout. So we're on page 2 now. And if I wanted to have just, this one's just a Monday page, we'd go into our data merge, we would type in Monday, 29th December, and then we would do that on all of these other pages. So that one would become Tuesday, 30th of December, and then in our final merge document, we would have weekly and daily pages, and they would all be in order. One thing to keep in mind, though, is that we cannot do internal hyperlinks using a data merge file. So that's something you would have to do yourself, either manually or using scripts. So I'll just undo all of that. Great. So I'll just turn off that preview just to make sure once again that everything is correct. And one thing I'm going to do really quickly is I'm going to style my table because Monday is not centered within my table. As you can see there, none of them are. So I'll just highlight all of that, and then I'm going to use the shortcut Command Option B or Control Alt B if you're on Windows. So I have cell insets here. Now I'll just change this from align top to align center, and the offset is going to be by cap height just because I feel like that centers things vertically a little more visually. It's nicer. I feel like we use the capital letters to see things as opposed to the centers, although in a lot of fonts they are the same height. And then I've got all of these cell insets here. This chain link here is going to link them all together, so just make sure there's a line through it. And I'm just going to take that right one off, just so that there isn't anything here. Now, I'm doing this because from the left side, I want to give it a little bit of breathing room, but I'm also a little bit worried about that Wednesday and the long month. So Wednesday, the 30th or 31st of December. I'd be worried a little bit that something like that might get cut off if I have too much of an insert on the right side. But I'll keep it on the left side to have some breathing room from that. So I'll go OK. Now I'm very happy with that. And we're going to start our merge document. So we'll click on this one here, Create Merge Document. It's going to pop up with this dialog box here. We want to keep this on single record because we're not doing multiple of the same records on one page. That would be having like multiple Mondays on one page. And generate overset text report with document creation. This is very helpful. It would let me know if my font sizes are incorrect, if anything gets cut off. And alert when images are missing. I don't have any images in my data merge file. That is something that you can do if you want, but I personally don't want to. So I will click OK, and that's going to create my merge document. Now we can see we have no overset text was generated. That's great. And now if I hit W for preview, we can see that we have everything all nicely laid out for us. And it is all correct. And so let's see what I can do with this. Because I based everything on one paragraph style base, I can choose what font I want. So let's say I want to swap this to Poppins, and then all of my fonts load. Now I do have 53 errors here. That's because this text box is not big enough. Poppins is a bigger font than Gotham. So that's something you got to keep in mind. If I was really clever, I would have set up object styles for all of my text boxes to make sure that they would expand vertically to prevent that from happening, but I didn't do that because this is just a tutorial. But that's what we have here. And now we have a finished planner, or not quite finished. You can add on to this. You might want to add your months in there. I prefer to have one parent page for each of the month's weeks, and then I have a calendar in here for the month, but that is entirely up to you. But there you have it. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you again soon.